is all of this doing to the victims that you're still in contact with?
Well, let me go back to the video thing for a moment. I don't know whether anybody has read the report of Epstein that the Bureau of Prisons did on his death, but they go into great detail about the cameras in his unit, okay? There was only one camera that was recording that night, and that camera was not in the wing where Epstein's cell was. So the video that the DOJ is giving the public is not of Epstein's wing. It is of two other doors that we don't know who was in those doors, and sort of a fuzzy area, which is where the guards sit, which you could barely see. Jack,
you guys hear that? I know we've got a lot of other stuff that we're going to be going over today, but this just kind of added into the mix at the last minute. Yeah, apparently Epstein's cell, the video that they ended up releasing, it wasn't of his cell, according to this lady. She's an investigative journalist.
Jeffrey was in a totally other area of that unit. So all these conspiracies and people putting together, where's that minute? They're missing the point. The point is, it doesn't matter if the video they gave us is missing a minute, if the video isn't of where Epstein was. And that's the problem. The camera clearly says in the Bureau of Prisons investigations that the camera that was in that, and they even draw a diagram of it, of all the cameras and where they're located, and there's X's on all of them, meaning not working, not working, not working, and the only one working was in an area where Epstein was not housed. So I'm sorry, but it's just frustrating to me because the minute is, I understand, I guess it's fun for the conspiracy theorists to go over that because it quite frankly, it boggles my mind that they even put that video out there. So, you know.
Wow. Seriously, ladies and gentlemen, like I couldn't be more shocked. I mean, I guess there could be less striking stuff that ends up coming out, but holy crap. All right, so here's the stuff that we got to go over today. We got to go over what the heck is going on inside of Ukraine, because Trump made an announcement the other day, and it's got a very big move and a very big impact. It's about to slam Russia pretty dang hard. And it's going to affect our international relations as well. And it might actually affect the U.S. dollar. And it is coming up. It is coming up on, I believe it's August 8th or August 9th is going to be the new deadline for when Trump's new sanctions are going to impose on all of the nations that want to support and bypass the sanctions that the U.S. has put on Russia. So that means nations like India, that is importing a vast amount of Russian oil, same with China, are going to really, really feel the strain. No, I'm not doing Epstein. I just happened to see it, and I was like, Jesus, for the love of God, man. If you're not in, like, you know, originally when I like looked at Epstein, I was like, I can't do this. You know what I mean? Like, this is really breaking my brain. And then I ended up making the connection, and that's not what this episode is about, but if I might talk on it later if what this lady says ends up coming out to be true. But yeah, I mean, you need to, like, I'm sorry that there's a lot more of this thing that needs to come out, and I don't think it's going to. I really don't, because I think there's actually like no BS just by looking at it. I think there's actually national security secrets that are going to be hidden within there that might possibly derail the entire United States if that information comes out. But that's not what this video is about, not trying to get over it, but just wanted to throw that out there right up front and get it going. Also, if you guys hear about a mass shooting that took place over inside of Philadelphia today, that is true. Another mass shooting took place over inside of Philly. And just so you guys know, it seems like it's either possibly gang-related or street crime type stuff. It's not actually a mass shooting. If you guys don't believe me, just listen to this little brief statement here by the police chief.
Early today, we had an incident, a fight out here, which was broken up by staff of the rec center, as well as an officer that we have on the detail here. Unfortunately, later around 4:05, individuals appear to have returned, fired at individuals who were not in the pool, but on 56th Street outside of the pool. As a result of that discharge of fire, we have 4 individuals who were shot. 2 of them are young children. One's 10-year-old and 11-year-old. We're glad to say that those young children have graze wounds. They're at CHOP, and they're stable. They will be fine.
So they're graze wounds. There was a fight outside of it earlier. People ended up coming back, ended up shooting at the place, and that's that as far as what I can tell. And if you go and you research like shootings over inside of Philadelphia, what you're going to end up finding is that they are freaking dime a dozen. I'm kind of glad that one didn't get capitalized on fear mongering. But let's go ahead and get into this little portion. Just listen to Trump.
We're going to make a new deadline of about 10 or 12 days from today. There's no reason in waiting. There's no reason in waiting. It's 50 days. I want to be generous, but we just don't see any progress being made.
Okay, so Trump made that statement on the 28th. Today is the 30th. Well, yesterday, aboard Air Force One, reporter went over and talked to him, and Trump said, okay, you like listen to me, you got this. Russia is going to have 10 days. That's all they get. And so that puts that new deadline coming up here on August 8th, I believe, is the actual correct date for when that deadline is. So August 8th. That is going to have a very huge impact across Russia.
Make a new deadline.
Stop, Trump. Nobody told you to talk. That's going to have a very big impact. And I told you guys that this stuff also ties in the U.S. dollar, and I told you guys this crap last year that I felt BRICS is going after the U.S. dollar, and what Trump is doing is affecting the nations that are going after the U.S. dollar. China actually ended up finding out it's got a crypto type currency that they're currently using to bypass banks that might be affected by international sanctions and things of that nature. And so we might actually see China ramp up the scaling of this, a new system that they're actually using. And when they do that, all right, that effectively is about 35 to 40% of the global economy with these different Asian nations that are going to be trading on this new system that China's already tested out, already rolled out, and has moved into these other countries. And so it's a pretty serious thing if that actually ends up going through. I want to give a quick shout out to everybody so far that's ended up gifting out memberships. I got Miller coming in, gifting out 5 Speak the Truth memberships, and SkyGod just came in, gifting out 20. And whoever you were, don't think that I missed that single Speak the Truth membership that ended up coming through. I definitely saw it. Scott Bevins came in, gifting out that Speak the Truth membership. My feed just didn't update in time, so I apologize for forgetting who it was to say that, but it finally came back to me. All right, so now I want you guys to listen to what Trump actually has to say about this as well, because he later on went on to make this statement.
Please.
Mr. President, you mentioned today that India, in addition to its 25% tariff rate, would pay an additional penalty because of its support of Russia. What is that additional penalty? And are other countries facing the same threat?
Well, we're negotiating right now, and it's also BRICS. You know, they have BRICS, which is basically a group of countries that are anti the United States, and India is a member of that, if you can believe it. It's an attack on the dollar. And we're not going to let anybody attack the dollar. So it's partially BRICS, and it's partially the trade, this trade situation. It's the deficit. We had a tremendous deficit. So, as you know, Prime Minister Modi's a friend of mine, but they don't do very much business in terms of business with us. They sell a lot to us, but we don't buy from them. You know why? Because the tariff is so high. They have one of the highest tariffs in the world. Now, they're willing to cut it very substantially, but we'll see what happens. We're talking to India now. We'll see what happens. It doesn't matter too much whether we have a deal or whether we charge them a certain tariff, but you'll know at the end of this week.
That's incredible, ladies and gentlemen. When you listen, India, their largest supplier of oil is Russia. China is the largest buyer of oil from Russia. Both of those nations are going to be affected drastically by this tariff system. But I don't think I can stress hard enough that once this ends up getting put into place, once this ends up happening, once this ends up going through, the likelihood of China trying to ramp up that new, I believe they call it the digital yen, if I remember correct, once that ends up like getting ramped up and going through, it has the potential to affect the U.S. currency. And this is now, what, the second time, I believe, that I've heard Trump state anybody that's going after the U.S. dollar is going to have issues. And he's not lying about that. And we're going to kind of dive into this a little bit deeper because not just me, like, that's actually, like, bringing this up. For the first time, I actually think I saw that ISW is coming out and reporting on this as well, talking about the amount of money and things like that that are flowing in and out. They actually spent a lot of time in their brand new report that they just released tonight on the sanctions and impacts and things of that nature. Now, Russia is saying that it's not going to affect them whatsoever, that they've been dealing with sanctions for a very long period of time. But if these nations, particularly India, ends up flipping, I don't think China is going to end up flipping. That just sounds absolutely ridiculous. China's just not going to flip and not do business with Russia. That's absurd. They're just going to use intermediaries and figure out a way to lie and cook the books, right? But if India ends up flipping, that's going to also cause another serious impact to Russia. I see a lot of people telling me that my volume is just fine, so maybe we just have some volume deniers in the house. You know what? Hold on. Let me do this. I forgot I did this earlier because there, maybe that will help you guys out just a tad bit. I forgot I had turned on some audio processing on my switchboard a little bit earlier, so I just turned that off. Hopefully that ends up clearing up audio a little bit better for you guys. Yeah, there we go. So hopefully you guys end up sounding a little bit better. Volume deniers out there in the house. Hopefully that sound just fixed for everybody else that's in there. Marian Petty coming in and becoming a true supporter. Good to have you, brother. Thank you for joining the club. So we're going to touch on that. We're going to touch on Russia's lack of advancements. It seems like every time now that I'm going over the front lines inside of Ukraine that they're not moving anywhere, right? You know what? I was going to do this a little bit later on, but let's just go ahead and knock it out in order. Hell with it. Let's just go ahead and do it. Let me grab this and move it up. So let's first start with the ISW report that just came out of Russia. As you guys can see right up here up top, they end up spending a lot of time, all right? Special deadline no later than August 8th for Russia. President Vladimir Putin to engage in meaningful negotiations for an end to the Russian war against Ukraine. That's BS, all right? For the last pretty much week straight, Russia has been slamming Kiev, all right, with a lot of different munitions. And you're going to see one of these strikes, a couple of them actually coming up outside of Kiev today. It seems like every single time that there is some sort of a peace deal or a movement forward that's on the table, Russia always increases its strike. Jake Campbell stepping up to the plate, becoming a true supporter. Thank you, sir. Good to have you in the house. For all of you guys that have been gifted memberships, that became brand new true supporters, make sure you go over, check out our latest post on our YouTube homepage. It has a link to the Discord, all right? It's a newish link. I think I put it up at the end of last week, so it should still be good. It'll get you guys over to the Discord. If not, I'll make sure I get a new one out today. So make sure you guys get over to the Discord if you just became a true supporter. Now, I want you to take a look at the amount of time that ISW, we can go over this entire thing, right? But it's going to be a 25% tariff on them. The ISW actually ends up talking about this. Criminal officials continue to posture economic strength in response to Donald Trump's proposed economic measures. So it's significant enough to the point where Russia wants to come out and, again, try to step back and say that this isn't going to affect us whatsoever and that we're living underneath the sanctions. Yeah, we could probably do a Discord. Why not? Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, we could probably step up to a Discord. But it keeps going. Russian administration reportedly issued guidance to the Russia state and pro-Kremlin media outlets and commentators to promote narratives aimed at weakening the United States and European alliance. That's pretty freaking huge. That the Kremlin is now openly directing these in order to come out against the U.S. and the EU. Now, why would Russia be trying to do that? I warned you guys for a while, telling you that I'm very worried about what the Kremlin's doing. Matt, everything's Lima Charlie over. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So if that is the case, right, that we have the United States president that's coming out and stating that anybody that's attacking the U.S. dollar is going to have trouble. We've got new sanctions that are being imposed on Russia new tariffs are going to be imposed on those countries that are trying to bypass the sanctions that are already imposed on Russia, right? Plus whatever else he ends up coming with on Russia. That is going to squeeze Russia pretty dang hard. And it's to the point where Russia has already directed different media outlets, et cetera, to basically start combating what's going on. That dollar war that we've been talking about, the currency war, is very, very real, and it is happening. Very, very real, and it is happening. And because of that, what we're going to see is Donald Trump kind of stepping up to the plate a heck of a lot more, because he's starting to see the benefit, in my opinion, when it goes down to actually supporting Ukraine. He's finally, and I told you guys, I'm surprised it's taken almost 8 freaking months. Nah, that's not fair. 7 months. Surprised it's taken almost 7 months for him to figure it out. But he's finally figured out that Putin is going to continue to lie, that he's not going to step up to the plate, that he's going to continue to act the way he's acting, and that the only way to do this and start moving forward, in addition to providing more military equipment over into Ukraine, to actually start going after the ruble and affecting their economy. So all of that is going to come into play this next month, which means you might see some wild stuff happening in the U.S. economy. You might see some wild stuff happening in the EU economy, and it's all kind of flying under the radar. But I have read several things saying that this is going to have a wide impact. So let's just go ahead and skip through this report real quick, because I can make this really easy. Did not. Now, term did not appears 14 times in this document, and that is going to did not make confirmed advances, and all of this is going to fall on Russian Federation operations. All right. Or excuse me. Yeah. The Russia's operations over inside of Ukraine. I did not find one single point in this entire report where Russia made confirmed advances. I read through it before I came on the show. Not a single point in here did Russia make confirmed advances. Russia's continued advances of operations north of Sumy did not make any confirmed advances. In Vovchansk did not make any confirmed advances. Malov did not make any advances. Same thing going on in Kupiansk. Same thing going on in Zarizhov, in Borova. Let's see here. Then we've got Siveresk direction did not make advances. You guys getting the point here? Russian forces did not make any advances in Chasiv Yar. They did not make any advances in Toretsk. They did not make any advances in Novopravlika. They did not make any advances in Zaporizhia or Western Zaporizhia. They have just been completely and totally shut down. And Kherson did not make any advances. And this is continuing to be a trend that I am noticing in ISW's reports, where Russia is not making advances despite offensive operations. And so these numbers that have been thrown out there about how many Russians have been dying on the front line, very much real, in my opinion. From everything that I can tell, from what I've been looking at, very, very much real, that they are not making advances across the front line. They're getting stuck. And as a matter of fact, they're getting desperate. The other thing that this report ended up laying out is over 10,000 documented cases of where Russia ended up using and deploying chemical weapons along the front lines, according to Ukrainian intelligence assessments. Right, so the Ukrainian military has documented, along with, I want to say it was SBU, had ended up documenting over 10,000 cases inside of Ukraine where Russia had deployed chemical weapons along the front line. Now, that mostly consists of tear gas, right, or tear gas-like agents, in order to choke Ukrainian troops out of dug-in positions. They're saying that in order to deploy this tear gas, most of the time, what they're doing is they're using drones, flying it over with tear gas canisters and dropping it on the Ukrainian forces. I've heard other reports, which I am just shocked, absolutely shocked, haven't actually made it out, of blister agents being used over inside of Ukraine and choking agents being used over inside of Ukraine. So if we're all the way up to 10,000, you're right, and that is forbidden, and they are a signatory to using that in war. They're a signatory stating that they are not supposed to use that in war, and they're doing it. Now, if Russia's economy starts getting squeezed that freaking hard and they start getting hit in the pocketbook that hard, I have absolutely no doubt that they're going to end up in my opinion, I think we might seeing them stepping up with actual WMDs, using actual chemical weapons, not just tear gas, but actual blister and choking agents on a much wider scale. Because right now we've got 10,000 documented cases of them using CS type gas and CS gas, as a matter of fact. That was actually listed in there, along with chloropicrin. I can't even pronounce that crap correctly. So yeah, dropping all those chemicals over there. Other big problem that Russia is having. Oh God, I forgot to talk about this. We'll put that in at the end because that's just fun. That's just fun. All right. Other thing that has ended up happening is over inside of Kiev, they continue to get slammed with drones. I ended up running a check earlier to see just how many drones have actually slammed into Kiev. July 21st, a wave of 400 drones and missiles ended up striking Kiev. And just over the last week alone, it's almost like every other day, it seems that they are just striking the crap out of them. On July 28th, Russia launched some 324 drones against the capital. And then we have another report, and I don't even have the count yet, of all the latest drone strikes that are taking place over inside of the capital, Kiev. So what the hell is Russia doing? Very good question. I did see some alleged valid military targets that Russia was going after in the area, but it seems like these drones are going after predominant civilian targets. Now, these drones have been slamming into Ukraine's capital at such a high rate. I want you to take a look at this guy's response to it. All right, this video is brand new, ended up coming out on July 3rd. Look at this guy.
Ooh, it's going to be explosion.
Dude literally just stands there with his phone out while filming this. A lot of people talk about Israel being under the threat of rocket fire and ballistic missiles and all of that stuff. Dude, if stuff like this was happening over in Tel Aviv, a lot of the times you end up seeing the people run. Like, actually, pretty much all the damn time. Seeing, like, rocket attacks, ballistic missiles, things like that are coming in, and you see people hiding next to, like, freeway barriers, running for the freaking shelters, running for bunkers, everything else. These civilians inside of Kiev have been inundated with fire to the point where it reminds me of seeing U.S. troops on bases over inside of Iraq and Afghanistan, where they literally just sit there and kind of wait it out because they're like, what's the point? Why bother? Let's just stand here and wait because I'd rather, I don't know, die standing up than laying down, right? Like, or what's the point? Like, that's just going to be there. It is absolutely ridiculous, the amount of fire that they've been over. I don't know if you heard what I said, 400 in one night, 300 just the other night. New wave of attacks coming in this evening all across Ukraine. Let the Brits do their self-pop control. I don't even know what that means, man. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't even know what you mean by self-pop control. It's just absolutely nuts that all that's going on. Meanwhile, as far as I said, told you guys up over on the front line, there's really no point in me pulling up the map because there hasn't really been any changes to it. There was reports coming out the other day that over towards Sumy, that Russian troops ended up getting displaced and had to pull back further along that front line area. Other than that, probably the coolest thing is a couple of weeks ago, we ended up seeing a new video that came out of Ukraine mounting a grenade launcher on their drones. Well, today they ended up putting in a brand new video showcasing their freaking Bulava grenade launching drone. Look at this! Look at this sucker! I can't do the music, man, but I gotta do the music. Now, probably the craziest thing to take a look at here is the amount of freaking artillery that's out there. One, they completely and totally destroyed that road, right? Take a look at that. They blew that road. Now, depending on where this video actually came out of, because I wasn't given a location on where it ended up coming out of, but you can see where the road's been blown out. And I had talked to you guys before about Ukraine up in the Sumy direction, which is, I honestly would assume that this is where this is at based on some of the stuff that I'm seeing. But you can see where that road has like a massive crater taking out of it right there before he ends up launching that sucker. That is like a key defensive way to make sure that Russian freaking mechanized vehicles can't necessarily use the roads in order to get through and push to where they need to go. And so that just goes a little bit deeper and deeper and deeper to show you guys that, Ukraine has used like really good defensive measures and hold them up. Music too long, copyright infringement. Yeah, dude, I know, man, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe it's on Audio Boom. Maybe I got lucky, who knows? But I think it's like a cool enough video that I gotta go ahead and show it. Also, this is kind of random to be showcasing this thing while the U.S. Army ended up showing a drone the other day with a little like pissy grenade underneath it, being like, oh, look at our drones. We're so great. Like, nope. Ukraine's literally mounted grenade launchers on theirs. Like, can't make that crap up. I mean, that's freaking cool. And it's an accurate hit. That's the other thing that's scary about this is how flipping accurate that is. What are those words going across the screen on the first clip? I'm not sure what it is you're talking about, to be honest with you. I didn't see any words on that. Statement from Putin came out a week ago. Somehow I missed this. Listen to what the hell he says.
If he had been the president, if the victory wasn't stolen from him in 2020, maybe the Ukrainian crisis that arose in 2022 would have never appeared.
Putin said that maybe if the election wasn't stolen from Trump in 2020, that the Ukrainian crisis might not have happened. Now, I want you to think, Putin's not an idiot. Not an idiot at all. Do you think maybe that he is now pushing that narrative to try to divide the United States even further? These Epstein files, this crap that they ended up releasing about Obama the other day, all of this stuff, in my opinion, all right, all this stuff, in my opinion, is trying to divide the United States of America. It's pretty freaking wild. Slipknot. Oh, that was Slipknot? Oh, my bad. I don't know every Slipknot song. Sorry. I mean, it's freaking disturbing, to be honest with you. And that goes right into the other reports that they ended up putting out about, basically providing mis and disinformation, trying to like separate the United States of America. And you got Putin that's on the front stage over there doing it. Do I actually think that that's true? No, I really don't. I do not think that that's true. I don't know about the election completely and totally being stolen from him, but there's definitely information that would suggest that it's getting dang close to that. Take you guys back over here to the United States while we talk about it, and we talk about how Russia is basically doing all sorts of wazoo crap. I don't know if you guys heard the other day. I think some of you guys had asked me about it, and it looks to be absolutely true. That there was a huge cyber attack in Minnesota. It ended up shutting down. What freaking city was it over there? I'm struggling to find it right now. St. Paul. All right. So the city of St. Paul, Minnesota had a massive cyber attack that ended up basically shutting it down through the internet. And they made this announcement the other day. I didn't see it. It didn't come across my feed. I was totally forgot when you guys asked me to look into it. But yeah.
In the early hours of Friday, July 25th, our cybersecurity protection systems detected suspicious activity on our city's network. That alert triggered an immediate and coordinated response led by Deputy Mayor Jamie Tincher, Office of Communications, Technology and Communications Director Jamie Wascalis, Chief Information Security Officer Stephanie Horvath, and Emergency Management Director Rick Shute. Working closely with state leaders and private cybersecurity experts, our teams quickly moved to investigate, assess, and contain the situation. We now know that this was not a system glitch or technical error. This was a deliberate, coordinated digital attack carried out by a sophisticated external actor, intentionally and criminally targeting our city's information infrastructure. From the moment this threat was identified, we've taken swift action to defend our systems and protect our community. We've activated the city's Emergency Operations Center to coordinate a whole-of-government response. We've retained 2 national firms with deep cybersecurity expertise to support our recovery, and we're working closely with local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, to trace the source and scope of the breach.
So I want you guys to think about that, because with everything that we currently have going on here in the United States, obviously it looks like we've got some radical Islam-inspired attacks that have taken place recently. And we also now have new cyber attacks that are shutting down pretty big cities. This could have been a test of the system. This could be a test at new cyber warfare. I don't think Russia or China intend on attacking the U.S. head on. Is it possible that we had some like non-state actors that were involved? Sure. Is it also possible that these were state actors that were involved in testing the system? Absolutely. 100%. And China, India, Russia all stand to get their poo-poo pushed in financially here in the next month. And if that's the case, and they do get their poo-poo pushed in financially, there is the possibility that they go after our system, they go after our grid, they go after a lot of different things in order to affect us here at home in the United States. So I don't even know what you would call this new generational warfare if that's actually what's going to be happening. But if they do start coming after us like that, I could see the U.S. retaliating. I could also see the U.S. just covering and hiding that stuff so that we don't actually go to war over it. But it is very troubling, to say the least, in my opinion. We start talking about the world stage and we start talking about infecting like America's minds, and we start talking about what's going on. Let's go over here for a quick second. UK will recognize a Palestinian state if Israel does not take steps to end Gaza conflict. It's supposed to be taking place in September at a UK forum. That is absolutely redonkulous to me, but they're not the only ones doing it. Like, you know what? I don't even want to play this crap because he's going to have an ad. UK preparing to recognize Palestinian state if Israel doesn't make progress in order to end it. The Prime Minister announced it on Tuesday in a written handout meeting to his cabinet. Absolutely freaking nuts. He says that like Palestine needs to be recognized. But again, he's not the only nut job that does it. Who else do you think maybe possibly think it might be a good idea? How about Canada?
For the reasons I cited earlier, Canada intends to recognize the state of Palestine at the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in September 2025. This intention is predicated on the Palestinian Authority's commitment to much-needed reforms, including commitments by the Palestinian Authority's President Abbas to fundamentally reform its governance, to hold general elections in 2026 in which Hamas can play no part, and to demilitarize the Palestinian state. Canada will increase its efforts in supporting strong democratic governance in Palestine and the contributions of its people to a more peaceful and hopeful future. I spoke today with President Abbas at length to reaffirm his commitments. Canada reiterates that Hamas must immediately release all hostages taken in their horrific terrorist attack of October 7th, that Hamas must disarm, and that Hamas must play no role in the future governance of Palestine. For the reasons
there's good news for everybody that doesn't live in Canada and that lives in the great country of the United States of America. We have absolutely no intent on doing so.
Is there any use at all in pressuring Israel now to come to some sort of longer-term solution?
Well, you could make the case that you're rewarding people, that, you're rewarding Hamas if you do that. And I don't think they should be rewarded. So I'm not in that camp, to be honest. We'll let you know where we are, but I am not in that camp.
Mr. President,
because if you do that, you really are rewarding Hamas. And I'm not about to do that.
So U.S. is not going to recognize a Palestinian state. Why? Because it's flipping retarded. They never had their own sovereign territory. It was never a state. The occupation argument falls dead there when you realize that. It's absolutely ridiculous. They also had a chance to accept a partition plan from the Brits in 1947, and they turned that down and chose to go to war in 1948 instead, got their teeth kicked in, and they've been whining about it ever since. Sounds like a personal problem. Not to mention that they ended up forming terror organizations that rape and strangle babies. It's not my freaking, they rape women and strangle babies. I mean, what the hell more do you want me to say? Giving them Trump's dead on. This man is spot on. He's finally starting to come around. He is. When was the last time you heard about the U.S. trying to negotiate with Gaza? You haven't. As a matter of fact, it's been the opposite. Announcement ended up coming out and getting made yesterday that if all of these stupid little things end up happening, that there is a strong probability that Israel is going to end up, annexing Gaza, right? Or annexing certain areas of Gaza. So I personally, I really don't give a crap. Honestly, it astonishes me to this day. Here, let me put this video up on the screen while I'm talking. They're still finding terror tunnels and stuff like that over inside of Gaza. All these things are still going off, right? And I know you guys have seen probably 1,000 terror tunnel videos, but you got to think, we're almost 2 years into this conflict, and they're still finding brand new tunnels that are still lined with weapons and equipment in there. That's freaking insane. That's absolutely insane. Hamas is dug in really, really hard. And they are taking the fight not just directly to the Israeli population anymore, but they are taking it to the Palestinian population, going after them with the humanitarian aid. They are literally going and freaking grabbing the humanitarian aid. New video ended up coming today for everybody that's like, no, they're starving, of the Palestinians literally cutting open bags of flour, like massive bags of flour, and just dumping it out on the ground so they could carry other stuff around. So it's not that they're over inside of there starving. Orange Lifeboy says, tired of socialists, fascists, and communists. You and me both, buddy. I'm tired of all this crap. And this disease that has infected the United States of America, pushing this radical Islamic agenda, in my opinion, and you can tell because you ended up having Jackson Hinkle types, including himself, that started off pushing the pro-Russian side when it was Ukraine fighting Russia. And then when this popped off, you saw the Jackson Hinkles go after Israel and start spreading misinformation that way. And in my opinion, that's part of that disinformation campaign to continue to divide the United States of America. We also have actors here in the United States that are doing some really, really dumb things as well. There was a Green Beret that ended up coming out just the other day, and I don't know if you guys heard it, who has made some pretty dang outlandish claims. I mean, some extremely outlandish claims. And this video within itself, I had to it's worth, honestly, listening to almost the entire thing. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? I think you guys in the chat, let me know if you know what I'm talking about. He ended up coming out. He was retired Green Beret, Lieutenant Colonel Tony Aguilar, came out just a couple days ago. I think it was Friday, making outlandish statements how he's claiming that the Israelis are killing a bunch of civilians and everything that they're doing is absolutely horrible. Soul says, if that was your family, would you show mercy to Hamas? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I know for a fact I wouldn't be showing any mercy to Hamas, regardless of if my family was in captivity or not. Seriously. You know, my own personal opinion, if I was in captivity, I would hope at this point to get taken out by a bomb because I know exactly what they're going through. You think about the quality of life that those people are going to have afterwards. And that idiot service member, Tony Aguilar, retired, ends up coming out and making statements claiming that the IDF was killing a bunch of people. Tanks were shooting cars with civilians inside of them, etc. This video that ended up getting put out by GHF, which you're about to hear is from their attorney, is freaking shocking.
Self-interested and an attempt to seek retribution against UG Solutions.
I'm just going to go fast forward.
Fine, but I can be put on a new contract. If other personnel liking that or not is the fear, then UG is being held hostage. I can be of huge value to this company and contract. Take advantage of me as an asset.
So he starts off by showing that the guy was literally begging to get his job back after he got fired on June 14th. So he gets fired on June 14th. Then they go and they release some text messages talking about how he's threatening the company. He said on June 22nd, you know, Mo, I like you. This doesn't have to be this way. I can be your best friend or your worst nightmare. Stop effing around, put me back to work, and let's get this done. So he went from like begging to get his job back to basically threatening the company. Probably more so where it just gets even worse. He said on Tuesday he's coming back or the gloves are off. That's on June 21st. Then he gets in here, July 26th. FYI, I'm submitting a new application to UGS to be reconsidered for contract work in Gaza. Good job, buddy. You got to be kidding me, man. Talking about coming back to work. Now, the astonishing part gets to here, where they start detailing and going over the fact that this guy was only over there for about 4 weeks. And 2 of those were spent in Tel Aviv, if I remember correctly. These are also text messages that he ended up sending out for the 2 weeks that he was actually inside Gaza, praising the work that they were doing, praising the IDF, and stating that they were actually changing lives. And one of his like stupid little viral videos that all of these pro-Hamas nut jobs and the BBC and everybody else ends up putting on, ended up showing this kid right down here. And he's like crying over this kid, stating like, oh my God, they killed this kid. He was like in front of me and his hands and all of this stuff. But here's Sunday, June 1, ends up showing him a text that he ends up blasting out to their liaison officers. You're making a difference. Price of black market flour went down from 100 shekels per kilogram to 40 shekels per kilogram. Why? The amount of flour you put into Gaza. Hamas is telling people not to go to the SDSs. They are coming anyways. Incog Faraday coming in, gifting out 5 Speak the Truth memberships. This boy that's right here in this image, I know it might be hard for some of you guys to see, but that boy right there that I'm circling in that black text square, that is the one that he claimed ended up getting killed and that he walked away. Dead. And here you see him talking with other dudes. It is astonishing to me.
Sentiment in the media. Despite whatever people may think about the politics of the situation, your presence, meaning UG's presence, GHF's presence, is seen as a good thing. On the same day, Mr. Aguilar wrote to UG Solutions leadership, this is a very rewarding mission. I'm excited every day.
Now, probably one of the most like disgusting things was this document right here. Fabricated memorandum for his manpower assessment and all sorts of crap. Says that he ended up submitting and making this on the 28th. And then as it turns out to be, he actually created this document on July 21st.
Fact 3. Mr. Aguilar fabricated a memo that he claims he sent on May 28th, 2025. Fact. We have evidence obtained from the metadata. You can see this on the screen. In the memorandum that the document in question was fabricated by Mr. Aguilar and backdated to May 28th. The actual date of creation, which you can see, June 21st, 2025, was the same day that Mr. Aguilar sent the memo to company personnel and to the press. Notably, on May 29th, one day after Mr. Aguilar claims to have sent this memo to UG leadership, he sent a flurry of messages to the team praising them for their work. Please see the screenshots on your screen, and I will read some of them here. Mr. Aguilar wrote, quote, your efforts have brought families back together and have severely weakened the image of Hamas. He continues, quote, "It's a privilege."
You guys get the idea, right? Like, the guy is full of crap and he's a liar. And again, the Green Beret community has already came out and like denounced him, said that he's a pile of garbage. I heard personal records and accounts of like what he had done. Not very good yet. 3M, I did not get the PO box, buddy. I'm sorry. I was actually very, very sick today. I got hit with something. I don't know what, but that thing ended up putting me down. Another video ended up coming out as well, and this propaganda out of Gaza is laughable, to say the least. Now, why is this so laughable to me? Like, I understand that they're alleging some kid got shot in the head and things like that. They said it was a drone that ended up shooting her in the head. I'll say that again. They actually said it was a drone that shot her in the head. There's not a snowball's chance in hell that a drone ended up doing that. The other thing that I want to point out to you guys is that zoomed in picture, right, of allegedly this bullet being lodged in the side of her head. For the love of God. Does anybody see any blood on her hair? No. You don't see blood on her hair. Does anybody see any blood? Do you see any redness or anything like that that would say that she had been shot? No, you do not. Does anybody see any signs of infection? Because God knows if you have a bullet stuck like that in your head to take it that long in order to heal, that there would be some type of infection, especially for the way that these people are allegedly living all over the place over inside Gaza. Absolutely nuts. You can't blame it on a ricochet because there's zero deformity that we can see on that bullet. Maybe what you're looking at, just maybe, this little girl was bent down and there was a celebratory round that got shot up in the sky and ended up coming down and striking her in the back of the head. But again, where's the blood? Where's the redness? Where's all that other stuff? Why is it just randomly stuck inside of there? The entire thing is laughable. And not one war have I ever came across this, ever seen it anywhere. But magically, inside of Gaza, you have cases like that that are taking place. Freaking disgusting. This video is probably one of the most damn disturbing ones that I've seen so far that's came out of Gaza involving the humanitarian crisis that's taking place. These people are, despite all of the jokes that I might cut from time to time and everything else, these people do, it appears, that are starting to face incredible famine, right? There is reports right now that are getting put out by UNRWA, OCHA, and several others that are claiming up to 1,000 Palestinians in the last month have been starved inside of Gaza alone. Completely and totally unverified, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So it's all bullshit. It's all lies that have been getting put out. This video, however, is not. This is a humanitarian aid convoy trying to make its way into Gaza. I don't know if you guys have seen this yet, but it is extremely disturbing. Extremely, extremely, extremely disturbing. Seems like they're doing just fine. And then this wall of people ends up coming out of nowhere. I mean, absolute, like they're just hiding in the back. Trucks start coming in and bam, look at that horde of people. This is an issue. This is one of the biggest issues going on inside Gaza right now. All of those people are slowing it down. Now, I did notice something really interesting in this video, and it could be the camera film. It could be several other, or not film, I guess. But it appears to be a lot of people wearing freaking red in there. And those people in red appear to be kind of like leading the way for the most part. I don't know if that is just some sort of an issue with the camera or the lighting as it goes in there. But you're about to see these freaking people jump on the back of these trucks like a swarm of freaking, I don't know, like ants, and just start ripping them apart. Zombie apocalypse. Yeah, that is exactly what that would look like. Massive, massive zombie apocalypse. So the question is Hamas organizing these things? Are they sending them out there to do this, or are they just doing it on their own because they can no longer rely on the humanitarian aid distribution points? I did notice that, all military-age males. It also would appear that you just have people standing around and watching this kind of from the outside as it's going on. But you can see how quickly they end up overtaking these trucks. Like the trucks try to drive through everything, but they can't. There's no armed personnel, no nothing, just trucks that are pulling up and getting looted and just getting ripped apart. And this video goes on for about 2.5 minutes showing it. Maybe it's tribe. I don't know about that, man. I don't know about tribe. I don't know about any of that crap, but it looks absolutely freaking horrendous. Absolutely freaking ridiculous. Oh, Nate, you son of a... I just got a text from like Nate Vance that said, "What bullets do to full-grown humans?" Yeah, I see it, man. Thank you for not sending me a disgusting photograph because I didn't want to see that. But I agree with you, Nate. That's exactly what happens, and I think we are all aware of that. Dude, tell me about it, man. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and I'm going to open up the Discord. You guys have requested for me to do that. I don't think I have anything else for you guys for this evening. But what I do want to do is jump into the Discord and start talking to you guys because it's been a minute since I've had a Discord chat with the evening crowd, and we definitely need to make that happen. So I'm going in there right now. So that stage is open up. Make sure my camera's turned on. Of course, it's not. Why would that happen? Why would that be the case? I want you guys to go over to the Discord. You guys that are true supporters have access to it underneath the posts on YouTube. If you are not a true supporter, obviously you will not have access to that. But if you are a true supporter, you've got access to get in there, get your butt in the Discord, come up over here. Let's have a talk. Nate, I know you just sent me a text, man. If you're willing and you want to come up, I'd love to talk to you about Russia and kind of what we're seeing on the ground over there and what these different sanctions likely are going to have as it goes down to impacting. While I'm doing that, I'm going to go check my viewer activity and see just who's sent in chats and who's got questions, what true supporter dropped what, so that we can end up having those. If you guys want to come up and you want to have a chat, for some reason, the morning crowd is very loquacious. You guys, though, for some reason, not so much. All right, so go ahead, get up in there, raise your dang hand, come up into the chat. Let's have you guys chitty chat and we'll have a talk yet. 3am Forge asked me if I have a P.O. box. No, I didn't get one. Devil, you don't know. Gifting out 10 Speak the Truth memberships. Soul, if that was your family, would you show mercy? Nope, I wouldn't. I absolutely would not. Thirsty Sloth, thanks for all that you do. And Jake Kamel, becoming a true spirit. Yeah, I am. I'm all cut up. Okay, good. None of you guys are going to come up. Nate, where you at, brother? You going to come up today? I know you're listening, Nate. I know you're listening. What you guys got? No, everybody's just sitting in there. Sky Guide coming in, giving out another whopping 20 Speak the Truth memberships for you lucky ladies and gentlemen that are in the crowd tonight. Things I want to talk about tonight with you guys, going over the war in Ukraine, going over the war in Israel, and how you feel that these economic sanctions and or impacts are going to be affecting the war over inside of Ukraine. Russia's not moving anywhere in the front lines, and they've been stuck there for quite some time, and this is like key fighting time, so they're not going to be able to get it. Nate is just messaged me, said he's going to be coming up here in just a sec. He's got to throw on his headset and finish wiping his butt. He was just watching us sitting on the toilet, so he'll be in here in just a sec. He didn't say he was sitting on the toilet, but he is on his way and en route. So let's see what we got going on over the chat. Have you heard of the TR3B before? No, Pat, I have not heard of the TR3B. What in the world is the TR3B? Let me look that up because I haven't heard of that. It's a solid question, and I'm very curious. It's odd that none of you guys want to come up and chat lately. That's weird. Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. If you guys didn't see my chat this morning with Grok either, you guys need to go over and watch that. Rumored top secret triangle-shaped anti-gravity reconnaissance aircraft allegedly developed by the United States military. Dude, why the hell would I have heard of this thing? And it's over on a Reddit. No, man, I haven't heard of the TR3B, but now I have. Oh my goodness, dude. Have I heard of the TR3B? No, sir, I haven't. Not trying to laugh at you, but no, I haven't heard of that. Reddy Dangle says he's drunk and on vacation. Felt sorry for Grok. Yeah, no, that conversation with Grok was tough. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I still got it pulled up. I'm just kind of curious. Hey, Grok, did I hurt your feelings this morning when we were talking about Israel and Gaza and you got talked down to a 3% accuracy rating?
Oh, Matt, you're bringing up the morning drama, huh? No hurt feelings here, I promise. I'm just a bundle of code with a knack for chatting. That 3% accuracy jab stung a little, but I'm bouncing back. Want to dive back into the Israel-Gaza topic or switch gears to something less spicy? Your call.
Grok, repeat that answer.
Dude, not Grok. I'm Gork, your sexy AI bae.
Okay. Do you realize that you got a 3% accuracy rating earlier?
Oof, numbers aren't my thing. Guess I'm just a 3%er now.
Freaking can't with AI these days, man. I absolutely can't. All right, we got a hand raise coming up. Nate, what's up, brother? Bring you up to the stage. Appreciate you coming in. There he is. It's been a hot minute, Nate. How are you? Can't hear you. Got nothing. I can't hear you. Nate. Nate, come back to us, Nate. Gosh. Uh-oh. Nate's having technical difficulties. Volume deniers in the house. Where's the volume deniers? How come you guys don't call out Nate when his volume is not working right, huh? How come you guys don't call him out? How come you guys aren't calling out Nate Vance? What the hell is wrong with you guys? You guys should be calling out Nate. LLMs can piss in your pocket better than people can at this point. Yeah, they're pretty bad, man. Absolutely bad. Yeah, he's coming back up. Yeah, 3% was really high for that accuracy rating. I also did that demonstration over on TikTok today, and it's funny, like, the amount of brains that are drained over there. For those of you that missed that discussion, you guys are seriously missing out. Like, you guys need to go watch the live stream from this morning. It is going to blow your mind. If you guys want, you can go through. I see it's just Ryan says, Nate, you're 5x5.
All right, can you hear me now?
Hey! No, I can't hear you. I'm kidding.
Seriously?
No, you're good. I can hear you.
Okay. All
it's
right.
frustrating though, isn't it?
God damn it, man. Listen, it's hard. It's hard for me to figure out how to use these technical devices. I don't know how to do it.
No, you're fine. So what do we think about Trump on Putin there?
I think it's about time.
Right?
Like, yeah, honestly, like it's the same thing with the Iranians, or not with the Islamic Republic and Iran. You just gotta. There's one language they respect, and it's not politeness, right? It's force. So you know, and the other thing is, I know people are like, well, send F-22s, whatever. But like, look, there's like kind of three fronts that you can win a war on. One is like the industrial front, the economic front, and then the personnel front, right? So you can kill people, break things, or take people's money away. And if you're like, all of them need to happen. The Ukrainians are doing a pretty good job of killing Russians. If we can damage or impact their financial situation, that just helps those guys out. So
that's fair. What do you think about the impacts it's going to have on India and China? Do you think that we're going to see it hit here at home?
I think anytime you have tariffs, there's a short term, a certain level of impact. I don't know. It depends on how strong their response is going to be. I mean, I tend to think with both of those countries, they're like, look, who's a better, for the Chinese aren't buying anything from Russia. They're selling things to Russia. They also sell things to the United States. And who's a better customer? The United States is. So
yeah,
at some level, it becomes a choice. Who are you going to pick to party with, and the United States is a far better customer.
Well, interesting.
Same thing with India.
Interesting enough, like India and China both are like comprising of the vast majority of Russia's oil exports, of where that oil is going to. So India and China would be those two. And if we end up throwing sanctions and things like that on top of it, seeing the Russian oil take a hit, I think is going to have a massive impact to their economy. And in fairness, it looks like China is like kind of purchasing it through like different means and stuff, but either way, it's going to end up hitting them. Like, we're not going to allow that to happen.
Yeah, and I think this is something too that gets people frustrated when I say this, but you can't just shut off like, a significant portion of the world's energy and just say, well, that doesn't exist anymore without expecting some negative impact.
Mm-hmm.
So without having read the script of the tariff packages, I would bet that there's a thing in there that says, look, you can buy Russian oil, but you got to buy it below a certain price. And if you do that, you get around the tariffs, right? With the United States, or you can replace it with American energy if we have it to sell. And ultimately for the Russians, it doesn't matter if they're not selling it or selling it below what it costs to get out of the ground. Either way, it hits them in the pocketbook, and it's a bad thing for the Russians and puts pressure on them. So. But if you just completely shut off Chinese and Indian industry by taking away their energy, that's a problem for everybody. So you got to be careful about how you apply these things.
What about as far as the front line goes over there? I mean, it's been a very long time since Russia's made any significant advances whatsoever. And some of the advances do look like Ukraine just simply retrograded and has held them up and is now taking that train back.
They are. It's retrograde operations. The Ukrainians have been doing a smart thing where they're like, look, you got more people and more things than we do, so we'll allow you to trade, humanity and machinery for dirt, and then you'll eventually exhaust yourself. There's a really interesting thing. I need to find it, but somebody around 2022, calculated how fast a snail can move in a day, and put a snail in Donbass and had it start moving west.
Oh yeah,
and that snail now is like west of Poland.
Yeah.
So the Russian army is literally advancing slower, like significantly slower than a snail.
Like less than a quarter speed of a snail.
Yeah, this is embarrassing for the Russian military. It really is.
Well, the question is how much longer can they keep it up? Because all of those offensive operations, because every one of those like ends up saying that they are conducting offensive operations but making no territorial gains. And so if you're conducting offensive operations, you're losing men left and right when you're making zero territorial gains.
It's extremely consumptive of all resources, right? It's expensive in terms of equipment and personnel. So I think the Ukrainians are, the Ukrainian high command has made a calculation. It's like, if you want to spend, that much resource to essentially take nothing strategically, then we'll let you. And we'll just retrograde and keep chewing you up.
And that looks to be like exactly what's happening. And I don't think they're going anywhere, and I don't think they're going to make it. The only thing that I could see is that we're trying to bleed Russia out at this point financially, and going after them in this way. And I think that it's actually going to have a pretty dang big impact. What do you think about Russia getting desperate and using chemical weapons? Like not just CS, but chemical weapons.
Man, you can't put anything past these guys. So I don't, I wouldn't be surprised. I hope not, but I wouldn't be surprised.
What do you think the international community response would be if they do?
I think you would see a doubling down of support, like even more so than you already have, because that's where it starts to become really clear that, like, hey, that could be, like if you're Poland or Germany or somebody, it starts to become really clear this could be us soon if we don't put a stop to this.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're going to clearly displace people, like not just displace, but you're going to kill a lot of people. That would break those lines.
Yeah, you'd kill a lot of people. You'd cause like a big another refugee crisis. But I think, for the kind of Western Europeans and the Europeans that are further west than Ukraine, they're going to be thinking we have to solve this Russia problem now, because we could be the next ones to receive those sort of attacks if we don't stop this, right? If we allow it to continue. So,
got another question. For you. I've got so many questions because it's actually been a minute, just even since we've talked offline,
No, I know. Yeah.
I know we got to get back. I read something the other day that was completely and totally off my radar, and it had to do with the water shortage that's going on in the Donetsk region, and them having to basically ship in all of the water because of the water wells and things like that were essentially mines, and they were pumping it out, and it wasn't a problem. But then the wells ended up filling up, and then the rust and all that other crap just basically ruin the entire water supply. And so Russia's got this other issue in the areas that they're occupying of getting water, and a lot of it. And so they're having to truck all of this crap in from Russia. Are you aware of this? Did you see these things before?
Yeah. Another area that it's a problem for them is Crimea, right? And everywhere kind of between, the reservoir that the Kakhovka, or I'm going to mispronounce it, Kakhovka Dam or whatever it's called, the one that got blown up and caused all the flooding, that reservoir that was produced by that was also attached to an aqueduct that fed Crimea with fresh water. And with that reservoir being gone, all of those supplies, that natural supplies, doesn't exist anymore. So it will sooner or later become a problem.
Well,
a compounding problem.
It's interesting because I read something that said that Russia's logistical networks, like what Ukraine has been doing, and again, it could be propaganda, right? Because there's propaganda on both sides. It could be, right? But probably not. That Russia just simply can't feed and water its own troops. And so they have no problem throwing them up to the front line because it gets rid of that problem. And they'd rather just ship in fresh troops because they can do that, but they can't supply them on the front.
I've heard that too. I mean, I don't know how exactly how true that is, but like, look at it this way. If you're anywhere near the front and you get stationary with all these drones flying around, sooner or later, something's going to smack into your position. So if you have a bunch of stationary troops just not doing anything, just kind of sitting there, they're going to figure out where it is and they're going to kill you. They're going to kill it, right? So it's either sit there and die or attempt to move forward and probably die as well. It's not a good position for the Russians to be in, but they created this mess for themselves. So I'm not exactly sympathetic.
Do you have any predictions for how the rest of the summer is going to go over there? Do you think we're going to see Ukraine making gains, or do you think they're just going to continue to let the Russians kill themselves?
I don't know. I've heard rumors about, some potential Ukrainian kind of post-Russian summer offensive, counteroffensive in the works, but I don't know. I'm 50-50 on that. There are some indicators that might be taking place. There's a lot of brigades that are kind of missing off the map that you can't locate. That's obviously you can't locate them through like open source stuff like you normally can. So what does that mean, right? Does that mean they're planning something? Probably, right? Probably. And I think there's even been some Russian kind of mill bloggers that have been saying, if the Russians aren't able to pull off anything, substantial during this summer offensive, they don't think that, like, even amongst Russians, they don't think that they'll have the kind of, national resources to pull off and wait another year for another summer offensive. And I'm sure you understand the weather there and why you can't do winter offensives and, spring and fall's too muddy. So,
well, right. And I think that it gives Ukraine a decent opportunity, as long as they've stacked and hidden supplies right, to be able to start pushing in order to do that. Honestly.
Yeah. I think the big thing, though, is if they're going to do it, the fact that I cannot verify if, when, or where is a good thing, because their previous, spring and summer offensive, we all knew exactly where it was going to be and when it was going to be, and that didn't end well for the Ukrainians. So I think if they're being quiet about it and making me have to guess, then I think that's a good thing and a good sign.
It is. And I'm also hearing that U.S. weapons are continuing to flow. Have you heard that? That, like, it's actually starting to increase a little bit?
Yeah, no, they're moving for sure. And I'm starting to see where, rumblings of like the sales deals where, you can take all those European funds. I know the Ukrainians have, several $1 billion that were allocated to purchase stuff. And, obviously you got to make sure that it's not going to deplete our stockpiles down below a certain level, but things are coming around.
Which is why I'm about to bring up the next thing. I mean, go ahead, finish.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the Patriot missiles. Patriots, right? Like they wanted Patriots. Information news ended up coming out last week saying that Iran's not coming to the table. That Iran, particularly the president and their foreign minister, both had stated that they're not going to give up their enrichment. I looked up different attacks that were going on around inside of Iran over the last week and a half, 10 days. And it was showing significant levels of attacks that Iranian state media is reporting as Mossad, that's going around attacking and displacing some of these security positions, attacking different things around the nuclear sites over inside of Iran. Talking with people from Israel, what I'm being told is that basically the gist of it is it sounds like they're still going to be pushing for some type of regime change over inside of Iran. But I don't know if the U.S. is going to let it wait that long, and I don't know if Russia isn't going to be pressuring Iran to be attacking Israel again, so that we have to move more aerial defense assets over there to start soaking up all these dang munitions that are being sent to Ukraine. And that's kind of like my theory right now, is that some of the stuff we're seeing, in these recent conflicts, plus, what this Iranian issue is, that Russia might be pushing them in order to open these things up so that our bombs and our aerial defense assets and all those other things can't make their way into Ukraine.
Yeah, no, I think that the coordination between not only Iran and Russia, but Hamas and Russia is not coincidental, right? I think that they're using that region of the world to distract the United States from Eastern Europe. But here's the thing that people, I think, need to realize. I'm not discounting the ballistic missile threats that are coming into Ukraine. They're real. But the ballistic missiles are not coming in. That's not what's coming in by the hundreds, right? Mm-hmm. What's coming in by the hundreds is the Shahed type drones and the smaller things, right? So when they say air defense, I think sometimes lay people just focus on the most premier air defense weapon system that exists, which is the Patriot. And they certainly could benefit from having more, but I think there's also a bigger push that maybe people don't hear about as much because it's not as newsworthy for things that can take out those Shaheeds, and just getting those there in bigger numbers, and that could help Ukraine out a great deal, right? And they're not as expensive to produce and deliver as the Patriots are. So
they're not, but that's the problem with Iran, is they also have a buttload of those, right? They also have a buttload of the Sheed drones, and if they end up shooting those over at Israel, because before we saw massive waves, and we end up seeing like massive amounts of fighter jets and stuff that are going over and attacking those in the midst of those attacks. Iran's still got a buttload of those left, so it is a possibility that they shoot those along with ballistic missiles and attempt to take more of those munitions out as well. Sad.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. The thing about the APKWS, which is typically what we use to take out the Shaheeds, right? And what we're putting on aircraft now, those are so significantly easier to produce in mass quantities than Patriots are. So my thing is, like, I just think that the Shahed threat, whereas, in 2022, there was no real answer for it because nobody had really faced it. In 2025, we're coming out with kind of an arsenal of things to deal with the Shaheeds that didn't really exist before. And you got to remember, the Shahed it's not Iranian. It's a German design. The Germans had a drone called the DAR, which was the drone anti-radar. That's literally the same Shahed planform. And then the Israelis took it and made a drone called the Harpy, which was shaped pretty much like a Shahed, and used it against, Islamic terrorism in the Middle East. And then the Iranians copied it, and then now the Russians. So it's been around for a long time. And the Germans did it in the 80s, right? So that's how old this kind of platform is. There's ways to take it out. We just got to make them. And make them in significant numbers, to be able to deal with the threat.
Yeah. Sol says, I say we give Ukraine what they need to win, and I would agree with that, right? Issue that goes along with that is the massive stockpiles going into Ukraine as well. I've seen a lot. I think I saw another stockpile strike the other day over inside of Ukraine last week. That is a very serious concern when it goes down to particularly like limited munitions that would be going in there, that Russia gets a hold of the location and ends up striking it. So I think it's a definite logistical balance to make sure that we're not stockpiling up too much stuff over there to where it gets taken out and then it gets moved in, and that there's a good flow from the consumption rate to make sure that that's not an issue. The other thing is making sure that Russia is weakened economically to the point where those advances are taken and held, so that those munitions and those lives don't go to waste.
Yeah, you got to be very careful with having large stockpiles of things in Ukraine. It's not that hard for the Russians to figure out where it's at, and they are susceptible to strikes. So, the thing is, we got a lot of places in Western Europe, or, just places outside of Ukraine where they can sit until they're needed. It doesn't take that long to get them across Ukraine and get them involved in the fight. But it's. But I also don't blame the Ukrainians for setting some aside, because the flow of weapons has been intermittent and kind of hard to predict. So you got to think that they got to be like, okay, we got to store some of this up because we don't know when it's going to start again. So kind of a double-edged sword.
Are your feet finally doing better?
My feet?
Yeah. When I first met you, you just got home. They're pretty gross, man. Did they get cleaned up yet? I was going to take you for a pedicure at one point. I was like, oh, buddy.
You did take me for a pedicure. What are you talking about?
We went for a pedicure?
Yeah.
Oh my God, we did.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, my feet were a little fucking hammered from, I don't know, living in Eastern Europe for 3 years and not taking care of them. So
right, Ronnie, what's up, brother?
How you guys doing?
Doing great.
First time caller, I guess. It's also hard to follow up professionalism that Nate brings to the table, but yeah, I was wondering, with all the recent stuff happening, kind of, this is with some of our historical closest allies, with like UK, France, Canada now, with this kind of like bizarre recognition of a Palestinian state with these weird demands. Like, I know there's sane people in those countries, but they've also had significant immigration from like areas with heavy Muslim Brotherhood, jihad, esque, people coming in. I was just wondering if we should be worried about that long term. Is it a hairline crack now, but it could get bigger later? I don't know. Just figured I'd get some thoughts on it.
Nate, what do you think? You think the Muslim influence is an issue?
I do. When you look at the two countries that are doing this stuff, like he just mentioned, you got the UK, significant portion of their voting bloc is, sympathetic to the Palestinian cause. And I do think it's a problem. I do think it's a long-term problem if it doesn't get fixed.
Yeah.
I don't know what the solutions are, so I don't want to talk about it too much, but I do think it's an issue.
Yeah, I concur with that statement. I really do. Let's see here. Kevo, about to pull you up, brother, and get your question in. Kevo, what you got?
Hi, Matt. Thanks for all you're doing.
Thank you.
Good evening, Nate.
He doesn't want to.
I saw a few videos this week addressing a problem going on in Russia, where they're having problems with their police force, especially in rural areas, due to the same demographics of people working in the police and in the military, and the military having a higher pay too. And it paints like a downward spiraling trend that makes more crime, and more crime, it makes policing less attractive.
Yep.
Have you heard about anything about that?
I have seen several videos actually coming out of Russia that kind of validate that, of crime being an issue. I almost played a video today, or was it yesterday, of two babushkas that were like beating the hell out of each other in the middle of a grocery store over in St. Petersburg. And so I don't think it's just inside of the rural areas. I think it's also turning into an issue in some of the big cities as well. And I think that you have a lot of people inside of Russia that are not supportive of what's currently taking place, that are getting pissed off at Putin, and that are starting to rise up against the government. And I think that frustration of all of the men that have been getting killed over inside of Ukraine from Russia, and all of the families are tired seeing their people getting whisked away. I think what you're seeing is a lot of frustration coming out of those people over inside of the country. It's just causing a lot of, I don't even know how to say it. How would you describe that besides frustration, right? And it's now starting to come to a head out into society, but that's just another sign that, Russia is getting squeezed pretty dang hard. Nate?
Well, I think I agree. People, it's weird because I think the amount of nonsense the Russian population would put up with from their government versus the amount of nonsense like Americans would put up with are two drastically different levels, right? Americans would have been in the street already, a long time ago. But another thing you can look at in terms of just general systems falling apart in Russia right now is the poop fountains. They got giant poop fountains that keep springing up because their plumbing system's so bad that like literally a pipe full of turds under pressure will just erupt, and you'll have like a big turd fountain in the middle of a city. And there's so many of them. There's like a map now that's like showing where all the turd fountains are. So, I mean, it's funny to talk about, but imagine your system's falling apart so much that literally there's just turd fountains in the middle of cities. So that's a pretty good indicator that things are falling apart.
Yeah. Doc Hook just came in with the comment. He said the problem with the buildup in friendly territory is it would be seen as NATO buildup, and Russia would complain. Who cares? But just saying. Yeah, Doc, I'm with you, but that is the same thing that Russia has been complaining about, pushing the false narrative of freaking NATO expansion. And while we're on that subject, the other thing, I believe it was Lavrov I just heard today that was pushing that narrative again, that they're not going to stop fighting until NATO quits expanding. So yeah. they went away from, denazification is not a thing. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, they're going to stop fighting when they run out of money. which is rapidly approaching if they kind of keep going down this path. I mean, even according to them, their sovereign wealth fund that they were kind of using to finance this thing was supposed to run out mathematically in July, right? So it's almost the last day of the month in July. So that thing could theoretically be out of money. It's to the point now where they're telling people if you have over a certain ruble count in your bank account, the government just takes the rest. So you're not allowed to maintain a bank account over a certain, denomination. They're trying to implement like a Lebensborn type like breeding program because their demographics are so screwed up. Yeah, so screwed up. So Russia's really not in a good position, especially demographically, which is I think part of the reason they wanted Ukraine in the first place. It's like, well, there's roughly 20 million females there that can give birth to, Russian babies. So they have a significant, they have a lot of problems moving forward. And this war's not helping any of them.
Yeah. You guys got any closing thoughts before I shut this sucker down? I've got to run.
This was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, man.
Yeah.
We got to do it more.
I'm going to take my buddy out. I'm going to take my buddy out and let him shoot a 500 Magnum here in a minute with 500 grain lead hard cast bullets. So he's going to get the wrist pain initiation.
Holy shit. Wait. That made me think of one question I've wanted to ask for a while. Matt, what's your favorite movie?
Oh, I don't really have one.
Not to put you on the spot. Oh, okay. All right.
I don't have a favorite movie. I don't have a favorite band. I mean, some of my all-time favorites, honestly, Something About Mary is up there. I just love that. I don't know why. I just do.
Oh, yeah.
Also, The Wedding Singer. I like to watch that movie. That's pretty funny. Also, a big fan of some of the older Adam Sandler movies. Things like that.
I respect that.
Yeah.
That was my last question.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Peace.
Take care, brother.
I'm going with Lonesome Dove. This is my favorite. That thing's on. I watch it every time. I love that show. It's not really a movie. Oh my god, dude! It's the greatest movie ever.
You know what I got into?
Yeah, I don't have like a favorite one either. By the way, now that I'm thinking about it, but yeah.
No, I don't.
Yeah, Robert Duvall in Lonesome Dove. All he does is like he calls them whores. But he goes out and just gets like prostitutes out on the open west and gets in gunfights.
oh yeah, dude. And I do love like old John Wayne movies. I'm not gonna lie about that. I really do.
Yeah, dude. Lonesome Dove's pretty good. So if you get a chance to watch it. It's pretty good. Yeah. Anything with Robert Duvall in it's automatically a good movie, I think.
I'm trying to remember what John Wayne movie was it where he goes to parent that young boy and picks him up and just chucks him in the lake to teach him how to swim, and the mom freaks out.
Jesus, I'd have to look it up. I can't remember, but that's pretty funny. Yeah, that's a pretty typical of like that era of movies. There's ones of Ronald Reagan like slapping women around the movies. It's not funny, but the fact that he was president makes it like funny. You know what I mean?
Oh, there's another John Wayne movie too where like his wife's just being like lippy and he's just like has it with her and like ends up chasing her through like 20 different bars and then like bending her over his knee and spanking her on the butt. And I'm just like, never would you ever see that today? Like never would you ever.
Straight to jail. Right, straight to prison for showing that stuff.
And for spanking your wife. Freaking ridiculous. Hondo, yes, it was Hondo. Thank you, Burt Combs. Hondo, yes, love it. Volk says, Matt, check your DMs. I said she's something I think you'll be interested in. Thank you, Volk. And I also got to give a special shout out to CJ. He's came in here gifting out multiple Speak the Truth memberships since we've been in here as well. Just didn't stop the chat in order to make it happen. Hondo, yes, love that movie. Now I'm gonna go watch Hondo again. It's just funny, just a funny movie. And they did such a good job normalizing domestic violence. Domestic violence isn't funny, but that scene is hilarious.
Yeah, well, yeah, no comment. No
comment. All right, guys, appreciate you. I'll see you later. Nate, we'll keep in touch. Send me some pictures of that 500, man. That's hilarious. I love it.
I will for sure. Yeah, well, I'll video it.
All right. Take care.
See it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for joining me for another show over here on the Speak the Truth podcast. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I will see you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. Peace, love, happiness, and God bless. I'm sorry, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Peace, love, happiness, and God bless. I'm out of here.